Hey, last video was the security redux, and this video is going to be, I guess, a follow-up to that video because people really liked it. I think there was a lot of really good discussion that came of it, and I want to do a video where I basically go over some parts of the game and the security issues that I didn't really go over, and the fact that I think my opinion has changed over the last couple of days since that video due to some really specific issues with how... Why is my PC exploding? What the hell? With how certain security cultures and other culture issues are happening. Basically, I think I'm a little more pessimistic about the changes in general due to a couple issues. So, first of all, one thing that I need to clear up, I referred to Goob Station's medical system as, WizNet's medical system as shitmed, when apparently shitmed is what Goob Station has created with the surgical system, and also apparently WizNet's system is called some other thing. Either way, it doesn't really change the conclusion I came to, where it doesn't really matter what server you play on, the medical system fucking sucks. And really does not lend itself well to security gameplay. I don't think there's really a contest or anyone that disagrees with this, honestly. Everyone knows the medical system sucks. Everyone knows it. Everyone runs with it, whatever. Next thing. One of the things that I got said was that security being shit is an admin problem. And I'm going to discuss that first, because when people say shit, they usually refer to security just running up, beating you down, bringing you no roleplay, and security in general... Oh, this is going to be a cool explosion. Hold on, let me make this happen. Anyway, and security in general just never really actually explaining what you have done or why. Stuff like that. And I think I've actually identified two big problems and causes of this really pervasive issue, and I have a solution. One that even wouldn't require Funky Station to make that many incredible changes. In fact, they'd just be able to port it. So, let me get into it, and let me explain first where I'm coming from, and then what I will change. So, I said once that Haas is the hardest job on Space Station. This opinion has changed. Haas is now number 2. Warden is now the hardest role in Space Station 14, in my personal opinion, and I really don't think there's any other role that could be considered to be any other, way of difficulty. Warden sucks. It sucks to play, you are responsible for way too much, and that, at the same time, results in incredibly stressful bullshit, and on the other hand, results in many of these issues where security doesn't actually explain shit. So, to help you illustrate how big this problem is, I have Funky Station's current space law and court SOP and all that other pulled up on my second monitor. I'm going to read off the treatment of prisoners section. Remember, the treatment of prisoners section is entirely Warden's responsibility. All of it. So, prisoners must be granted adequate medical care. Not a hard thing, or whatever, but psychiatric and spiritual counseling if requested. This means that Warden might have to go to an intercom and call someone over, and then let them in. Not hard, but whatever. Prisoners must be allowed access to comms equipment as long as they're not abused. Usually a non-issue. Food, clothing, water, shelter, safety. Brig is no longer safe. Confinement must be established in another location. Not hard. Here's where we get to the hard part. Prisoners must not be sentenced prior to a formal interrogation and presentation of evidence unless they have confessed to the crimes they are accused of. Prisoners must be given access to legal counsel before and during an interrogation if requested and available. Prisoners must be interrogated in a timely manner, but the interrogation need not occur in a private interrogation room. Interrogation may only consist of declaring the individual what crimes they are accused of and asking for a plea. After a prisoner has pled guilty or not guilty, the sentence may begin. So, here's the problem. The prisoners must be interrogated in a timely manner, and prisoners must not be sent prior to a formal interrogation and presentation of evidence. Those contradict each other. Those contradict each other extremely. So, prisoners must not be sentenced without presentation of evidence implies that prisoners must have some sort of evidence against them. This is simply not feasible with Warden exclusively in a fast-paced security environment, which is every round. This is just not feasible, especially for a Warden who already has to do all of this other bullshit. A prisoner must be given legal access to a counsel before and during an interrogation. This means that let's take this chief engineer right here. This is a perfect example of this, and I'm going to pretend that I meant for this guy to be here in this video right now. Let's pretend that I meant to do this, and this wasn't just background footage, and is in fact planted here specifically for me to make my point, because I am great. And you will comment in the comment section that I am great. So, Warden's here. Sorry, not Warden. Haas is here. I arrest the CE for attempting to give the QM. Pretty basic shit, right? Bring him into sec. Whatever. Let's go through every single way, in theory, this Warden would be able to stall security sentencing them. In prison, they must be provided evidence. We have no actual evidence besides nobody else could have blown up QM because nobody else was in the room. That may or may not be evidence. That depends on who you ask. That vagueness results in problems, results in salt, results in everyone fucking complaining. This is why this needs to be changed. Right there. There cannot be a single amount of of potential disagreement between players, between hosses, between wardens, between magistrates, between captains, between NTRs, anyone on what the fuck to do with a sentenced prisoner. The prisoner, the warden, the hoss, the NTR, the magistrate, the captain, everyone, including the arresting officer as well, 7 people, all need to be able to agree what a normal sentencing and bringing looks like. If not, we get into very, very salty territory. Extremely salty territory. So, problem number 1. Everyone needs to be on the same page. But, because of the, again, aforementioned contradiction, where we need evidence to sentence them, and they must be interrogated in a timely manner, but interrogation need only consist of declaring to an individual what crimes they are accused of and asking for a plea. This results in a thing where everyone just fucking ignores it. Everyone ignores it. No, seriously. Dave, if you play on Funky Station, name a time where a warden has actually done a proper thing and asked for a plea instead of just shoving you in Brig. I'll wait. No, seriously, in the comments below, let me know if this has actually happened to you, because I've never seen a single person do it. Hell, as a thief or an antagonist, I am a little bastard, and I try and exploit every single hole in these goddamn space law systems. And to be clear, I'm nerfing myself by bringing these to attention, because these need to be fixed. Because this just shouldn't happen. These should not exist. These need to be fixed pronto, because I've abused these to get out of actual fucking murder charges just by bullshitting. And I shouldn't be allowed to do that. Back to what I was saying. Sorry for the tangent. It's complicated. There's a lot here. Try to cover it. I'm a little tipsy, but not too tipsy to make a video. Trust me. So, this chief engineer could ask for a lawyer. Completely fair. They're being accused of prevention of revival because they gibbed quartermaster. Completely fair. Expected. Whatever. They must then be interrogated in a timely manner. Okay, well, I'm technically interrogating them right now, but I'm not the warden. I can't sentence them. Haas also cannot sentence them. See, there's a thing on Funky Station, and I believe a lot of servers have this because of shit hosses, which I have an entire new idea, which I might make a separate video. Let me film a separate video on how I believe we could entirely fix the issue of shit command. Because that's a whole other can of worms I'm not opening here. So, this guy needs to be sentenced by the warden. Meanwhile, the warden has to deal with 20 other things. And then, get to the really bitchy part. I'm going to click on the crime list and scroll all the way down. Sorry, not crime list. Where the fuck? Also, another minor thing. The organization of courts up and, like, all of the shit that a theoretical lawyer / magistrate needs to deal with is terribly, terribly organized. Let's go to Warden's up, actually. Warden may not perform arrest of security officer active. No. Search. Warden must conduct a thorough search of every prisoner's belongings. Yet another thing to add on to them. Are you keeping track? There's a lot. Warden is required to permit a trial in the circumstances outlined in legal... with a legal SOP section. And is likewise permitted or required to permit the subject access to meetings with their blah 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 blah. Suspect's break time should blah blah blah. Basically, they have to let the lawyer talk to the guy in Brig. Durr. Warden is required to permit a suspect access to legal representation during interrogation only in cases where the suspect is charged with a Tier 3 or higher. Now, we go back to here. Prisoners must be given access to legal counsel before and during an interrogation if requested and available. Which is it? Does every interrogation require a lawyer present if someone requests it, or is it just class 3s? Which is it? Because the space law section says it's everything, because legal counsel before and during an interrogation if requested and available. But the warden section, let me go find it again, says Tier 3s only. Again, another contradiction. Contradictions in what is essentially a person deciding to put you in a theoretical how many minutes time out from having fun. That's salt. That is a salt mine right there. Salt generator right there. It's that one fucking Pokemon. Warden's required to not hand out any weapons ordered for the armory. Blah, blah, blah. Warden is permitted to carry their shit. Warden may not place blah, blah, blah. Useful thing. Warden must read to every prisoner the crimes they are sentenced to. The warden must do that, not the security officers. Another problem, because I've not seen a single security person or warden do this. Ever. Warden is not permitted to leave prisoners cuffed to their beds. Yeah, don't be shitsuck. Wardens follow the same side guidelines as kickoffs, blah. Wardens courts follow rules of conduct, which I'm not going to cover the security rules of conduct because nobody follows them, because we already have all this bullshit to cover, and this would make the video even fucking longer. There's also Code Blue, which changes things, which Warden is now permitted to give out guns. Durr. Code Red, blah. Warden is not required to permit trial during states of emergency, which, again, if you recall, the problem with the alert system from the previous video, yeah. There's pretty much no time for a warden to permit a trial during states of emergency. But they're still required to give someone confidential meetings. This means that theoretically, and obviously this is theoretical because obviously no admin with a fucking brain cell would ever enforce it this way. This theoretically means a warden is required to give a prisoner full legal representation during a nuke ops attack. Which is fucking stupid. Now, let's get into the legal SOP section, because this is stupid. We're going to skip over lawyer because, Jesus fucking Christ. Oh yeah, here we go. Lawyer OOC rules and expectations. We're going to rubber spirit lawyer, blah, 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 blah. This can be done proving such a convict. What you can do is how the appeal for finding the person, no chance of winning trial. Don't waste other players' time. Make sure the legitimate should role play rather so you take your own personal storyline. Basically, just don't be a fucking lawyer that's trying to sue someone over nothing. But at the same time, respectfully, respectfully, again, lawyers effectively don't matter. So, yeah. Trials may occur to exonerate an individual from a crime or convict them of the same. Commission of crime can lead to the enforcement of additional punishment or lesser punishment that's trusted of the judge. Trials may occur to force investigation of misconduct and about punitive measures. Trials may occur to dispute or show proof of renewed compliance with the statutes which led to a previously imposed punitive measures, subsequently have confiscated property or staff position returned to the... What? Okay, that's wordy and I don't fucking care. Because, again, this is a security video, not a lawyer video. Jesus Christ. So, this means that trials may only occur to exonerate an individual for a crime or convict them the same. This, theoretically, means that, again, any crime may have a trial related to it. We'll come back to that, because the magistrate SOP is going to have something to say to that. So, only presiding judge on station has the right to review the trial. Once requested, may do so. Following the SOP of the magistrate, blah. NTR may do it. If NTR and NTR and magistrate don't do it, then cap. Approves subpoena any member of the crew or such command. Witness for the trial. May not be forced to stay in the witness block for 5 total minutes, but judge may all its time to the two parties for examination, cross-examination, as they fit. Opportunity for cross-examination are required to be given to the party that did not really subpoena the witness. Witnesses may volunteer more of their time to provide testimony if they wish, but not because of doing so. Testimony may say 10 minutes in length. That's a long section, so let me break it down. Basically, can't keep a witness for longer than 5 minutes if they don't want to. Cross-examination is not required to give it to the party that did not originally subpoena the witness. That's fucking bullshit, because imagine you call in a witness, they say a bunch of stupid shit, and the magistrate just decides, nah, you're not allowed to cross-examine them or ask a single fucking question about anything they just said. Does that sound fair? Very kangaroo court. So, you know. Where legal representation must speak on behalf of each party of the trial, the lawyers must sue for the lawyer that no restriction on who may represent a party. It is the duty of the presiding judge to determine if the individual acting as counsel is qualified to do so. So, this is good. This is good. There should be... This section right here fixed one of the issues I had with it for a bit. Legal representation can be anyone. This is good because lawyer as a job is very unpopular. However, let's go back to the Warden SOP section, shall we? Warden SOP. Permits access to legal representation during interrogations only in cases where the suspect is charged with a tier 3 crime or greater. So, lawyers. And then we go back to space law, which again, I have to scroll all the way down for this. It's very annoying. Prisoners must be given access to legal counsel before a during an interrogation request is available. So, theoretically, anyone can be legal counsel. But also, lawyers are legal counsel? It's very confusing. Again, another thing that is non-specific and confusing. Let's go back to court SOP, or legal SOP. Now, there's an entire courtroom process I'm going to skip over because who cares? And, oh, that's it. Okay, let's go to Magistrate before we go back to, again, the Warden issue. Because all of this is Warden's concern. Again, all of this is the concern of 1, 2 if you count Haas, 3 if you count Captain. It's entire bullshit to do. It's a whole fucking thing. It's a real fucking problem. It's a whole shebang. And even if you disagree with me, if you think that these aren't the responsibility of the warden, or that I'm misinterpreting the law in some way, the fact that it is possible to misinterpret, and that misinterpretation becomes the warden's problem, that's a huge issue. Again, warden is already hard enough. We do not need to add more to it. So, Magistrate SOP. Magistrate holds the ultimate punitive authority. Magistrate may overrule anyone. Magistrates to adjure station resource not waste on trials that are frivolous or outcomes or foregone conclusion. Magistrates have the authority to sentence and pass judgment. Magistrate not above space law, because fucking boy. NTR and command, blah, blah, blah. Magistrate with the context trial only concerns those crimes that either fuzzy evidence or require careful deliberation of circumstances or have been horrendously mishandled. Class 1 and 3, penalties for concerning the misinterpretation of space law. Duh. Magistrate is permitted to carry their flash. So, Magistrate has permission to do whatever. But at the same time, besides the ultimate punitive authority thing, what the hell does the magistrate do? Genuine question, because, for reference, I have been banned from Magistrate. And while I, in retrospect, probably deserved it, I thought I was operating within Magistrate's guidelines. Because, for reference, my ban was for trying to get a cap to explain in court why the actual fuck there was an entire section of, like, the captain just going around trying to just randomly stabbing people with implants. To be clear, extreme capsecking, and I had never seen that player again, so I assume they fucking went back to some LRP server because they should not have been on Funky. Now here's the thing. Before we go back to Warden SOP and how I'd fix Warden and all this issue, we actually have a separate thing, because guess what, motherfucker? There's another thing Warden has to deal with, because Warden is involved in every single sentencing. This means that as part of a court SOP, the one part I intentionally didn't read, Warden must also provide a affidavit with a full recount of all parties relevant witness testimony from events from their perspective, prepared ahead of time by the respective counsel of the parties. This means that Warden, by court SOP and like the legal system, is forced to deal with the entire process of getting an affidavit from two sides, which is lengthy and interrupts their duties. Again, Warden is now the hardest job in the game. So, what do? Warden's hard, nothing makes sense, it's shocking, confusing, and it's so bad that, again, and you've probably seen this if you play on Funky Station, 90% of all wardens, magistrates, lawyers, hosses, captains ignore all of it and just do whatever they think is right. Well, for once, I think Funky Station could actually take some pretty big inspiration from Starlight. If you are not aware, Starlight has another new security role, the duty officer. The duty officer is their job is to assist the warden. They're essentially warden's assistant. There can be multiple of them. They're allowed to handle sentencing. They're allowed to act as dispatch, which is another thing that wardens aren't required to do, but is expected of them because they're the one that's always at home base. Adding in an additional person who is at home base will help this situation immensely. And this is, again, ignoring the normal warden duties of handing out guns. So, duty officer to help warden out. I think this should be a role implemented with haste. Because right now, security within its whole redux flux state where nothing really makes sense is in an extreme situation where there's a lot of weird shit and nobody really knows what the fuck to do. Now, next problem. How do we fix the court SOP and space law to be understandable and not confusing to anyone reading it for the first time? Because again, all of space law is like 5 different fucking documents. So, step 1. Organize all the things into one space law list. Space law and then Badgie, legal SOP, space law itself, DOI, crime list, all that shit. Make it one tab with all of the SOPs in it. And if you have a SOP that should be listed under the SOP, just have a link to it. Because for the love of God, the guidebook is not that hard to work with. There are links in the guidebook to other parts of the guidebook. It would not be that difficult to work with. Now, for the legal SOP itself. Legal SOP is convoluted and, while definitely realistic, does not lend itself well at all to 2-hour sections of playtime. Let's take a theoretical example here. I commit a crime half an hour to shift. Let's use this CE again, who represents a perfect fucking representation of the problem here. This guy's been in here for like 10 fucking minutes awaiting a trial because the magistrate is new, needs to decide what parts of space law, what parts of court law to actually work with. And again, if the magistrate actually told both counsels to properly and formally get an entire affidavit, this would suck dick. So, what do we do? Because the magistrate, I told them to ignore it for a good fucking reason. Because again, every single person who plays NTR or Magistrate ignores it. They completely ignore the entirety of court stop because it sucks. So let's fix it. 1. Remove several sections of it. Let's see. So, for example here. Let's see here. Legal representation may be permitted in the trial to speak on the behalf of each party at trial. Good section. Keep that. Perfect. The entire witness section, completely pointless. Get rid of it. Replace it with a three-sentence structure. Observe. Witnesses may be called by any party in the courtroom. Witnesses may not be present for longer than 5 minutes. Witnesses must be permitted to cross-examine by the opposing counsel, except in circumstances in which it would exceed their 5-minute capacity. If this is the case, their testimony is to be thrown out. There, done. For reference, let me break down what this does. The 5-minute thing, I think, is a good idea, but it's just listed very convoluted here, so simplified it. And the defense thing, this is to prevent, the thrown out testimony thing, this is to prevent a problem where essentially people would just force the witness to yap for 5 minutes, and the moment that they, leave, they would just fucking boot them. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Basically, they'd get booted out of the thing because the 5 minutes were up and no cross-examination would happen. Because again, cross-examination needs to happen. It has to happen. There cannot be a sentencing without a cross-examination, for fuck's sake. This is basic shit. So, presiding judge section, also fine. Circumstances for trial section. All of this, completely fine. So, what's the problem, you might be asking here? Well, the problem is the actual courtroom process, which I'm going to read off now. Opening statement from prosecution and then defense. Good. Question by the defense, cross-examined by the prosecution. Take no longer than 8 minutes. Good. Relevant witnesses are questioned. That's the... Then we... And, blah, blah, cross-examine the witness. Here's another contradiction. After which the other side may be given a chance to cross-examine the witness. Rule 3. The entire 5 minutes thing. But again... This just lets the person who called them yap for 5 minutes, asking bullshit questions before there's no cross-examination that's allowed to happen. Then prosecution closing statement and defense closing statement. Judge issues a verdict, blah, blah, blah. Contempt of court section, which don't be a dickhead in the court thing, duh. So, how do we change this? Well, pretty much every magistrate and NTR that I've seen run a trial, myself included, and the actual fucking admins, G the Glorious included, who... Great court events, by the way, G. Please give me more. I want to act as a judge in one of them. Please, I beg you. I want to. Please. Anyway. They all operate on fucking Ace Attorney rules. So let's lean into that. Prosecution presents an idea. Okay. Defense then cross-examines the witness by testifying and doing all the evidence bullshit. From there, the prosecution then needs to cycle to a different argument. Essentially, we work on an argument-based system. The prosecution presents an argument for why the defendant is guilty. The defense has to shoot down that argument to the satisfaction of the magistrate, and if they're unable to, person's guilty. Will this be unfair to the people being sentenced? Yes. Again, that's the plot of Ace Attorney, if you haven't played it, is that the legal system in those games is unfair as shit to the defendant. And that, I think, works with Security Redux, where security just says they did it and proceeds to be shitsec all over it, and the prosecution then just gets to mostly win all the time. Because the defense doesn't usually have a defense. Well, duh. The defense doesn't have a defense. This will speed up court processes so much, make them a fair bit more in line with the setting that Funky Station is going for, where NT is basically hostile to the crew. Well, all but openly hostile to the crew. Corporate bullshit. It's the whole thing we're going for on Funky. And it would also make it so that when you lose in a court case, it's just expected. And it would also completely remove the amount of frivolous bullshit that takes place in courtrooms, where if the defense isn't able to argue back, they just lose and they don't get to move on to any other bullshit. Now, a couple of suggestions I've seen to fixing the Warden issue and the court issue simultaneously. Just make Magistrate do the sentencing. Now, here's the thing. We should never, ever, 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 ever go with the first idea anyone thinks of. This is because first ideas fail to abide by the proper context, never work, and are generally poopy, stinky, awful doo-doo garbage. Several problems. One, what if there's no Magistrate? Magistrate is a very high time requirement role and not popular because of not only the time requirement, but also the fact that 90% of the time it doesn't do shit and people don't know how to play it because, again, the court shop. 2, what happens if the Magistrate just dies? Security shouldn't be completely impeded if one person dies. Third issue, the Magistrate cannot be impartial in the event of a trial if they're doing the sentencing. Which, I know that may seem a little, who cares? But that's a little far, I think, even in terms of NT shitsack land. Solution 2, just to remove sentencing for minor crimes. This is actually something I support. Here's the idea. If you commit a class 3 or below, you don't get break time, you instead get an alternative punishment. For example, you might get trackered, you might get forced into community service, you might get forced to go on a salvage expedition or something like that. This, of course, exists only in the land of the hypothetical, and actual implementation and ideas of how to code it are very far off, I'm afraid. Well, I'm not sure of that. If they are actively, like, being pursued and whatever, then yeah, good. But you can't just say, oh, just do this, and have that be a proper answer to any of the questions. To seek out more potential solutions, I'm going to go through the, holy shit, 111 comments on this video, and sort by the top comments and see what happens. YouTube search system has decided that it is not going to do that. Oh, there it goes. 15 minutes for murder makes sense. Cloning works. Or violence thing. Pressure. Blah, 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 blah. So, here's a suggestion. Dynamic pocket generation where the portal's in Brig. You stay here for X minutes. You then need to collect X resource. Y if this one, Z this one. You're free to go once you got it. Weapons will only work inside the pocket dimension. You first way your belt, then you get cleared. You get teleported with the lunar guns. Or not, and print new ones. Now, Brig Med will have something to do besides for rare command healing, blah, 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 blah. Okay, SK 100. This is generally a good idea. I think I support this. Yeah, no, actually, I think I just support this. However, there are a couple minor issues. So, here's the thing. We tried this, actually. In fact, a station tried this, where Perma-Brig was essentially just a giant asteroid of salvage land. This, of course, resulted in people wanting to go to the Brig, specifically to do that. If the prison sentence is more fun than actual gameplay, people will commit crimes just to go and do that. Which, yes, MRP punishing, but determining what is and isn't a crime committed for the sake of going into the Brig to do the fun minigame is a situation that no admin wants to deal with. Trust me, that's part of the reason why Oasis is no longer maintained on several stations. So, here's what we do to implement your idea. I think it's good. However, I think it should be exclusive to minor crimes. Or not minor crimes. Sorry. Hold on. I'm going to pause the recording because I need to get my head together about this, because this idea is good, well thought out, and has a lot of depth to it, and I'd like to give it the thought and depth that it deserves. Okay, I've given it some more thought, and I have a couple things that could make this better and could make this worse. To make this better, I think your idea of the medicine issue should be a thing that isn't included. If they die or get crit, they die and get crit. And if they die and get crit, then they get sent back to the station, as you have suggested. I should probably read this off, actually. 1 second. Shadow Realm for Brig, dynamic pocket generation, portals of Brig, prison sentences, you have to go get these crimes, or you have to go get this resources, and you're free once you get it. Golden weapons that only work inside that pocket dimension. First wear a belt, if they get critted, killed, they can teleport back to the Brig, loot and guns, blah, blah, blah. Brig med will have something to do, aside from rare command healing, because they'll actually be taking a med bait, die 10 out of 20 times. This would require Brig med to be re-added to Funky Station, which, no. Brig medic is a terrible role that I could go make an entire video on, but just trust me. Just trust me on this. Brig medic is a bad role. Just don't, no. Prisoner is healed. Warden goes in and tells him, yeah, so we spent resource healing, you lost some gear going there, you have to collect this amount of extra resources now. Here's the thing. That just incentivizes wardens to decide to arbitrarily be shit, because they want resources. Duh. I do like your idea, but I think having, again, duty officers or another security officer keeping control of the prisoners as they go to this separate dimension to mine is a bit of a better idea. Hell, you can even have it be like a lava lane type thing, where essentially they get teleported onto this, like, again, pocket dimension you have described, and then they proceed to go into the they then proceed to, like, escape from the security officer that has them in there. You can even literally have them on a leash, although I don't trust the furries with that one. And they go in, they get the materials, they come back, or they manage to escape and overpower the security officer, and then they get to amass resources to come back through the portal with a bunch of shit to properly bust out a Brig. And again, I think the belt is a good idea, because even if because if the sec-off gets crit, security isn't immediately like, okay, well, they have a security ID now, they just fucking immediately lose. They instead get to go back to the station. You could also have it be a button press that sends them back, which, with all the resources and shit, which would be a little bit gamey and kind of break the meta, or sorry, the, like, context of the world a bit, but whatever. Maybe they can pilot drones or something. I don't fucking know. Either way, I think this idea has merit, but there are a couple issues. One, this adds another thing for Warden to organize/do. Two, this will result in people, again, as I've stated earlier, but I'm going to restate here just for making sure this is all in one argument. This would result in people wanting to be brigged to do this fun minigame. And three, this this kind of results in a situation where the most robust players, me, sorry, I couldn't resist not to do that, where they will essentially commit a crime. Like, an antagonist will go in, break into seize shit, steal Captain's ID, do all their objectives, and then get sent into the mining dimension and come back out in like 20 minutes with a free sentence. Or, let's say you put them into the pocket dimension where they're forced to stay there permanently. Okay, well, they just do the aforementioned thing where they overpower a security officer assigned to them, or they just exist in there alone. They then get a bunch of stuff that they can use to break out a Brig. Again, I think this needs to be very, very carefully managed. And I think it has merit, but I'd like to see you expand on that idea. Hell, join my Discord and just straight up make an actual design doc, Mr. SK100. Like, if you, or join Funky Station Discord, make, like, an actual design doc for this idea. If you need help, I'm sure the contributor channel will be more than willing to, because I think your idea has a lot of merits, but it needs a lot of refinement. Anyway, the rest of this, I'm being honest, I thought, like, going to the comment section of that video would be a fair bit more interesting, but the rest of it is just people saying fucking, because apparently it's just like people complaining like, this change ruined playing as lawyer. Yes, it did, but that's not really a helpful suggestion. There's not much to discuss there, or as a solution, it's just, yeah, it sucks. Corporate hellscape. Oh, here we go. System should exploit conflict breaking the sea or whatever. You decided the artifact toucher. Up to keep your fellow crew to guide. Make sure to have friction point your coworkers. Command. Here's the thing. If you make it so that they're forced to do like community service or anything of the sort, they'll just walk away. They just won't. And let's say, oh, but they'll get their stuff back. Cool. People will just start stashing their shit in mains, and then go get it afterwards. Duh. Trauma station, that's an LRP server, doesn't work here. Regulation, prison labor, we already discussed why that's not a really good thing. Brig feels like an OOC punishment for his character actions, that I agree with. Behaving prisoner. Better community service. First draft, no edits. Yeah, again, the community service thing just doesn't work properly. Proper bonding setup, this will result in people just causing bombings and all that shit. Again, I'm just gonna fucking move on and end the video here. Yeah. Again, I think there's a lot that needs to be improved. Security Redux, I think, could be a step in the right direction. I'm just really not sure at the moment. It's hard to determine whether or not something is going in the right direction this early into its updating dateness. Yeah. Anyway, thank you to Own I Mentioned by creator, which that's a weird name. That Wundle, the Redwood. Please don't buy Redwood tier. It's not worth it. Talkian Senver, Modern Jedi, Mr. XT Awesome, Dubbo, the Lazy Gatorade Just Period, Plansick, Henlo, Reverse Mirror, Wakefield, You Face This, Loltard, Summoning Cat, North Star, and Philbed Timo. Support the show down below. I promise to stream every time, but I never do. To the point where I'm just not going to promise it anymore. I apologize. Oh, also, if you're wondering how this like entire shit show in the Brig here ended, there was never a court date set because the Magistrate was new, we couldn't find representation, and we were all generally confused by court stop, and we didn't want to ignore all of it because roll bans or something. I don't fucking know. But yeah, nothing happened because of the very confusing court stop bullshit. Bye. Hope you enjoyed the video.